It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood because I have 3 Mustangs, but yet only one works the way it should. Won't you be my subscriber? I think the pollen's getting to me. It is everywhere. Look at that. That is nuts. Look, the cobra's gonna be green here soon. Jeez. Oh man, but in today's video, I just want to go ahead and I'm going to give my first impressions on the new car, on the 2020 high performance Ecoboost Mustang here. I've got about 3 days in it now, and I just want to explain how I feel the first 3 days in the car and what I think about it so far. So let's get into it, and we'll just start on the outside of the car since we're already there. Some of the things I really like about the outside, obviously this car looks really good. I love the way this car is equipped, and this is the most coolest part I think about this car is the mirrors. They're not black, but they're gray, and I think it's the magnetic gray. So the mirrors are magnetic gray, and so is the spoiler. And I like that because it's different. It's not black. You know, a lot of times those pieces are blacked out, but the gray just, it pops a little bit differently, you know, and I like it. It's unique, it's different. Of course, back here, the same old store you see on most Mustangs, because it's not a GT, you do not get the GT badge here. Instead, you get the tri-bar pony logo, which personally, I love. Always love that. And you get the really nice 18 up taillights. Also, another really cool thing about the high performance package, Ecoboost package, so when it comes on the high performance Ecoboost, is the big quad tips, and it's also the active exhaust. I have active exhaust on an Ecoboost, and it's nice. It's nice to control the volume, and even on the Ecoboost, it makes a big difference in tone and volume. So, also, I'm not entirely sure if this comes on other cars, but you know, you got the rear diffuser. Basically, it's like the back end of a GT, but it's an Ecoboost car. You got these nicer wheels here. These are 19s. It's wrapped in Apparel. What are these? P0s, which, you know, they're decent. These are soft, but they're not super soft. So they're okay. They're okay for now. No need to change them yet. But, and then you got the bigger GT brakes, which, you know, these are, I guess, better than the factory Ecoboost brakes. But, yeah, I don't know. These calipers seem a little cheap, like they're a cast metal or something. I don't know. They just don't seem nice quality. The rotors are pretty thick, but they're pretty standard. Up front's a little bit nicer of a situation. I think this is where you really get the big changes. You do have a really nice, and I would assume this is a 6-piston. I only see 2, so maybe it's only 4. But it is a pretty big caliper there, and it's a pretty big rotor up front as well. So up front, you definitely get much better braking situation than you otherwise would on a normal Ecoboost. Definitely find the badging here cool. There's actually a few of these badges on the car, and I'll show you. That's another cool touch I like about this. It kind of just sets it apart from other Mustangs, gives it a little bit of a variance, gives it some uniqueness and some character. It's got the hood vents, which actually, yeah, they're functional. I didn't even know that. Well, go figure. Also, you get the nice front splitter here. This is the bigger splitter that you only get on, I think it's like the performance GTs or something like that. I don't know. It's not, this splitter isn't offered standard on a normal Ecoboost. That's what I know. This is exclusive to this package with the performance Ecoboost trim. Then you got the really nice blacked out, I refer to this as the California Special Style Grill. I love this grill. Out of all the S550 grills, this is my favorite. And you have another tri-bar pony emblem. So for me, that's perfect. I love that. You know, I haven't had that much time around a S550 Mustang, especially, you know, the 18s and up. So this being a 20, a lot of things are new to me, and I really love what they have done to this. With that said, though, there are some quirks that I still don't understand. Up front here, you got this section here. Well, it looks nice, and you have this faux vent right here. But if you look on the back side of the wheel here, there is some type of ducking that comes here, and I don't know where it starts at. I guess maybe it would have to be in here somewhere, and maybe there's a dam that directs air that way, but why wouldn't it just go this way? I feel like that would be better in terms of aerodynamics. I guess not. So that's a little strange. But otherwise, there isn't too much that's different on this versus a regular GT. What really, you know, this really sets itself apart from just a normal Ecoboost Mustang. So it's like basically, if you gave an Ecoboost Mustang GT parts, this is what you get. It does have a different 2.3 in it, so it also has that going for it as well. So now that I've covered the outside, let's move into the cabin of the car and talk about some of the interior bits that I think is pretty neat. All right. So moving on inside here. First thing you notice, it's not a bad place to be. It's not a great place to be either. This definitely isn't the luxury of the Taurus. This model in particular, this is like a stripped out model. So this car does not have the convenience package. It does not have the safety package. So with that, it does not have the leather seats, and it does have all the crazy bells and whistles. Basically, I just got all the performance components, and everything else is pretty basic, and or what comes standard with this trim level, which is like a $9,000 upgrade over a regular Ecoboost, by the way. In here, I mean, you got your normal stuff, but nothing is, the only things that are feel nice, you got this, you know, the armrest here is nicely padded. This doesn't feel great. It's not covered in anything. It's not covered in like the soft vinyl or something. I've seen that on other cars. This not so much. Seats, while they are cloth, let me tell you what, these are actually very comfortable. I'm not sure if they're any more or less comfortable than the Recaros or the leather seats. Regardless of all that, yeah, they don't look as nice, but they are very comfortable and they're very supportive. For me and my size person, you know, I'm 6'2", 200-pound guy, and these bolsters hold me in really nice. It's comfortable. It doesn't hug me too hard, but it hugs me enough. So they're very nicely contoured seats. They're super comfortable. My seat is 6-way adjustable, so, and power, by the way. Moving on to special touches that only are on this Mustang, and you can't find it on like a GT or other regular Mustangs. First thing being, and this is only exclusive to the Performance 2.3, is this right here. This is one thing that makes this car super different from the rest. See that right there? Yeah, that has a build plate. This has a special serial number because it's a special car. This is like it. This car is pretty much like that car right there. It's a special car. It's a special developed car, and it's you know, it does have a chassis number. So this one is L0611. I guess it is the 611th car. High performance Ecoboost. So I don't know how many of these they're gonna make, but this one's a, you know, pretty early in the bunch. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. It's still really cool that they put that plaque there. That makes me feel like I'm in something special. I'm not just in your normal everyday Mustang. That is cool. Also, because it's an Ecoboost Mustang, you do get a boost gauge. You're obviously not going to get that on a normal Mustang. I think they still give you a vacuum gauge for some reason, or voltage or something. I know they give you these gauges. This one I know is in most Mustangs, oil pressure, but obviously only factory supercharged or turbocharged cars are going to have the boost gauge. So that's pretty cool to have. It's nice. It makes you, once again, feel like you're in something special. Also, this trim right here is something I think is exclusive to this to Performance 2.3 as well. This is not found on every car either. So this looks a lot nicer than what you would find on the standard GT or something. This is something that comes in on the higher trims, I think. So this looks like it's a nice, much nicer look there. So that is nice. Gauge cluster is your basic gauge cluster. Once again, this is your basic car. I do not have the digital gauge cluster. I love the digital gauge cluster. However, that is like a $4,000 option or something. Actually, I think it might be more. And I just couldn't do it. You know, it's not super important. I think out of all of the current sport car gauges, like even between the Camaro and the Challenger, the Mustang I think has some of the nicest, at least appealing gauges, if you will, if you're not opting for the fully digital gauge cluster. I think next to that would definitely be Dodge. They have nice gauges as well on the Challengers and stuff. So other things in the interior that I found pretty neat was actually in here. Now, I know this doesn't mean much to some people, but the glove box is not very big on this car. Compared to something like the SHO, it does have a lot of room. So normally your owner's manual takes up so much space here, but this is something I thought was pretty cool. Obviously people who have been in these cars and or own them knows this, but this little tab right here, if you push it down, that's where your owner's manual is. It tucks it up there out of the way so it doesn't take up all the space in your glove box. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I think that's a nice little feature there. There isn't that much storage on either of the doors. You have these little, you know, panels here. They go back pretty far. They'll put a drink in there. You have to lay it flat and push it back or something. And once again, just plastic here, cloth here. The only soft leather parts are, you know, right here on this trim piece, but that's not a super big deal. Something I thought was very strange was I was trying to figure out this compartment right here. You know, feeling around, it's a new vehicle to me. I'm looking around and seeing what is different, what's new about everything. I looked right here and I noticed this, I pushed it. I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, what do you put in there? And I made the assumption you put sunglasses in there. I think I made the right assumption because that's the only thing that fits in there. So, because there is no sunglass holder up here, which I don't understand why. I think having them up here is a lot more convenient, a lot easier to get to, especially when you're driving, but they're down here for some reason. So that's a weird quirk. Another weird interior quirk. Once again, I'm not used to these newer Mustangs, but something I thought was very strange were the buttons on the steering wheel. Now, I don't know if anyone has talked about this. So you got your cruise control section right here, but it's weird because the way these buttons are contoured, it's really hard to kind of like press the insides of these buttons right here. And they have these little two raised edges to help press them, so you don't press your speed setting buttons here. But I still find it's still weird to press it there. Like, it feels better to press it on the outer edge because it's raised, but to press it on that inner edge is just really weird. Not too much of a bigger issue on this side because these buttons are, I don't know, I think they don't have to rock back and forth. You just press this one or you press this one, so you got more finger space for your press. It feels better over here, but these are double-sided switches, so I just find that very strange. Not my favorite, but I'll deal with it. That's just all nitpicky stuff. It's really not that big of a deal. Like I said, this isn't like really a review, but this is my first impressions on all this, because to me, this is all new. That pretty much wraps up the interior. I don't think there's too much more to explain. It's just your basic Mustang interior, and that's all it is. You got your necessities, and that's it. So we can move on from this. Let's move on to under the hood. All right. Moving along here, something that also annoys me on this car, once again, not a big deal and can be fixed with the aftermarket, but it does not have hood struts like the SHO. So pardon me, I have to use my head to hold the hood while I put the prop up. There we go. Now you can get a set of Ford Performance hood struts, which I would assume mount right here in these holes, and I will get those because it's just so much nicer to be able to open your hood and it go up on its own. But in all of its glory, 2.3 liter single turbo glory, this is pretty much the Ford Focus RS 2.3 liter. Some people are not gonna like this engine. I think this engine is a really fun, it's torquey, it's got a lot of power. This car, when you get in it, it boogies, man. And actually, because I'm still running on the gas from the dealership. You all know the dealership's only going to put 87 in it. So we all know that these engines, Ford rates them on 93 at their max power. Even on 87, this engine still feels really good. And once I put 93 in, it's probably gonna be really, really fun. It just has a really fun power band, and unlike the normal EcoBoost and the SHO, the power band doesn't fall off up top. That's actually where it comes alive. This engine feels more like a traditional turbocharged engine than any of the other EcoBoost cars I've driven. Like the SHO, you know, the tiny little turbos, and they're made to spool real quick and build boost really low in the RPM, so it doesn't even feel like a turbo car. This feels like a turbo car. All of that power is in the mid-range and up top, and it just has that really nice dramatic curve, but it's still pretty linear. I mean, I'm still shocked that this, sometimes when I get on it, to think this is only a stock 2.3 liter Ford. It's pretty fun. And just looking around in here, a couple things I noticed immediately was how substantial the piping is for the induction system. This pipe here is, you know, from the air box, is big. Now I get it. This is a single turbo setup, so obviously this turbo is going to be bigger by itself than two smaller turbos that's on the SHO, but this is actually a pretty big damn turbo. This is a 63 millimeter turbo. I guess that's why you need big piping. I mean, it isn't like massive, but for compared to other EcoBoost engines, like especially the SHO, it is pretty big. So of course your intake here is huge in terms of circumference. I mean, look at that. That is massive. I can't even get my hand around it. It does taper down when you get down here toward the turbo, which is right there. So thankfully that's easy to get to, unlike the SHO. And then if you look here, this is the outlet pipe from the turbo. So this does go a little bit smaller here. So it comes out here and then it goes down into the intercooler down there. But when it comes out of the intercooler, it comes out in this just ginormous tube right here. I mean, this thing is huge intake tube. So I'm not sure if there's a reason for keeping the piping small here and it big there, other than just matching the inlets and outlets of both the turbo and the throttle body. But that is so much bigger piping than is found on the SHO, even with aftermarket components. It just kind of shows you how this engine's put together. I mean, this is a serious engine in terms of its performance. I mean, it's not like an afterthought. This engine was built with this in mind. Honestly, just looking at everything, not to say I'm never going to have to do it, but compared to the SHO, this would be so much easier to work on. The alternator's right there. That doesn't look like a pain to get to. All your accessory drives are right here out of the way. You know, so much space here. Your turbo and stuff's right over here. Super easy to get to. I mean, you got mounts down there with leaves stuffed in it that I need to clean out. So there's that. That was hot. Don't touch it. Your downpipe is right there. That is super easy to get to. I mean, that's your high pressure fuel pump back there. That's actually not as easy to get to on this engine compared to the SHO. But everything else is really easy. I haven't had the engine cover off yet, so I'm not sure what to expect when you pull that off. But annoyingly enough, it looks like to pull that off, you have to maybe remove the strut tower brace. I don't know. I don't know if you need to or not. It doesn't look like maybe you can, once you loosen the fasteners, pick it up enough to slide it out, but I'll have to look and see. But speaking of the strut tower brace, remember when I said there's multiple of the 2-3 high performance badges? This is where you can find another one. I think that's pretty cool. It's a nice little touch. That's pretty much the engine bay there. There's not much more to really talk about, but otherwise it's just like every other Mustang or modern Ford. You've seen one, you've seen them all, and that is where that story ends. And a quick little punch in here. So you got your ABS module over here. I just think it's pretty cool that from the factory you get braided stainless brake lines. That's pretty neat. So with the build quality in mind, obviously you've heard me mention, you know, the hard plastics and stuff, and you know, they just don't feel that great even for hard plastic. Some hard plastic feels good. This feels okay. Not great. One thing, if you look right here, you can see you got this little bit of, I don't even know what this is and where it came from, but I guess if I probably shouldn't keep pulling it. Probably should try to stuff it back in there or something, but see, I shouldn't have to worry about that. That's definitely a quality, you know, control issue there. That's just not great. But then again, this isn't a Mercedes, this is a Ford. If you come to the passenger side of the car, there was something else I noticed. And like I said, just keep in mind, this is a brand new car. I'm the only owner. So if you come over here to this side, then you have a couple other issues I've noticed. So here in the door, I don't know why, but this was hanging down. And it doesn't really sit up there the way it should. You know, I've tried pushing it up there and pushing the molding over it, but it keeps sliding back down. I don't know why. I find that very annoying. It's a really bad quality issue here with the new Mustang. Don't know if that's on every Mustang, but it's on this Mustang. Back here, you know, I don't know if someone's been back here for some reason, but this stuff's kind of taken down, and I don't know, things just aren't as nice as they are. Hey, sweet, no spare tire, just a fix a flat kit, which is fine because that's weight reduction right there, baby. I was taking that spare tire out anyway. The overall quality of the car is not as nice as it could be. I just think the quality of the Taurus is better, honestly. I know that's kind of weird saying that, but I really do believe the quality of the Taurus is better than these new Mustangs. With that said, it's a good car though. You know, I just find it very strange of these issues on a new car, but I don't think you can really win anymore with new cars. It's either this or something else. So, but I think that's gonna wrap it up here. I think that really just kind of glosses over how my first impressions of the car, the things I like and the things I find annoying with the car. But overall, I like the car. I think it's going to be a good fit here for the future of Fomacobro, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be something a little bit different. I'm going to have fun modifying this car, but I'm not going to modify it the same way I did the SHO. I do have a really nice Ford warranty on this car, and I want to keep it. So, because learning what I've learned with the SHO, I don't want to have the problems. Like, if something happens, I just want to take the car in, know I'll be okay, and not have to pay thousands out of my pocket. But with that said, there are some warranty-friendly mods we can do. A lot of it's probably just going to be aesthetic modifications, but there are some other things we can do that are warranty-friendly, and it'll be fun to see the difference it makes on this car. It's a new platform, new engine, new everything to me, so it's going to be fun figuring out what works and what doesn't. So, but with all of that said, that will be it for this video. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with everyone you know, and if you want to see more content like this, then go ahead, subscribe to the channel, and keep a lookout for the next video.